Good afternoon, everybody. We see the attendees trickling in here for a minute, and then we'll just get started. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be getting started here in just a minute. So the numbers are flying up. This is exciting. Cool. Thank you. All right, let's get started here. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on this beautiful September day. We're sitting here in Oakland about half a mile away from the Coliseum. I'm hearing some nice things about a send-off for the A's this afternoon. So thank you all for being here and this kind of, exciting yet somewhat commemorative day in Oakland. My name is Michael Altfest. I'm the Director of Community Engagement here at Alameda County Community Food Bank. I want to welcome you to our second virtual town hall of 2024. Our goal with these town halls really are opportunities to engage you, our community, in different parts of our work throughout the year. We've been doing these over the last couple of years. We started during the pandemic, and historically they have been opportunities for us to kind of give updates about the state of food insecurity in our community. But we started to do them a little bit more frequently now on more detailed parts of our work. Some of you may have joined us in April. We did one in honor of Earth Day. That was a deep dive into our food recovery and sustainability work, which is a big of growing importance to food banking. And you can find that recording on our YouTube channel if you're interested, and I think we'll probably drop in the link to that as well today. Today's topic is at least equally, if not more timely as sustainability was to Earth Day for a couple of reasons. One, as you may have heard, it is an election year. We are roughly, a couple months here, not even a couple months, just 5-6 weeks away from a big election, and the impact of that election on our community is very much on our minds these days. Secondly, it is September, and September is National Hunger Action Month. It's a nationwide effort to raise awareness about hunger and the different ways that our community can be involved in this. Just a couple pieces of housekeeping. Today's meeting is being recorded, so a link will be shared to everybody who registered in a few days, probably next week, and then it'll also live on our YouTube channel. It will be shared out as well as in our October e-newsletter, which will be coming out, I believe, in a week or so. So keep an eye out for that. Secondly, if you have any questions for our panelists today, please use the Q&A function that's in the Zoom. We've got a team here that will be monitoring the chat. If we have an opportunity to answer questions live, we will. But also, I know we've got a couple teammates who are on that Q&A, so if there's questions that they may just answer immediately, they will do that. So before we get started, when we do these meetings, we do like to give a little bit of a primer of our food bank, a general primer. So we do have a video that will get queued up here in a second. It's about 5 minutes long, so we'll pause here for a minute and let you watch this video, and we'll be right back.
When we think about community, we think about it as all the people who have a stake in ensuring that our community is nourished. Alameda County Community Food Bank exists to eradicate hunger. And it's going to take all of us to decide that we want to solve this issue in order for it to happen.
I think people would be surprised to know how complex it is to be at a food bank. We are an important responder when it comes to any type of incident, disaster. What that is providing as much food as possible where it's needed. We went from 38 million pounds of food pre-COVID to 58 million pounds of food after COVID. Most of the folks that we serve are working class folks. They're your people who have jobs, who have houses, who are paying rent. If we're not here, it's going to be felt throughout Alameda County for sure.
We work with a network of over 400 community partners who have a vested interest in seeing nobody in this community going hungry, and we believe that's something that's possible.
Open Art Kitchen is a proud member of the Alameda County Community Food Bank. We have 4 primary programs: our hot meal program, our senior meal program, our street outreach program, and our pop-up pantry program. I think a lot of times hunger is often hidden. It's here and it exists. Food has a way of bringing people together. It has a way of creating community. We're in this fight together. They are a partner that is equally committed, and it takes the work they're doing and the work we're doing and bringing that together to really stand a chance of pushing back against food insecurity.
I love what I do here at the Mercy House. We partner with the food bank. They deliver fresh, quality produce once a week, and it's simply amazing. I think with inflation and everything going up, people are choosing between basic needs, between getting gas, paying their rent, and having food. I love what I do here. I love meeting the people. I love the volunteers. I feel like I'm making the world a better place.
Longwood Elementary and the food bank have been partners for about 10 years, and we serve about 100 families.
Hola, mi nombre es Virginia Sánchez, soy madre voluntaria y también cliente. Me encanta ayudar a las personas, así como ellos me ayudan a mí en esta escuela. A darles comida es una gran ayuda para mis hijas y estoy feliz de servir a esta comunidad.
It's important to be involved with the food bank because it builds community, it builds strengths within ourselves, and as a community we have to take care of each other and to provide for each other.
Donors are essential members of our community and should know that 1 in 4 people in Alameda County is experiencing some form of food insecurity. The one thing our food bank needs most is financial contributions. Every dollar you give helps provide 2 healthy meals. Volunteers are critical for our food bank. They help ensure we can get healthy food out to the community that needs it.
So what we love to do at Truffle Shuffle is we donate a meal for every kit that we ship, and then throughout the year we'll come down once a month and actually be able to volunteer and bring the whole team, and they absolutely love it.
Every business owner in the community should bring their team here, get with the Alameda County Community Food Bank, and help do work for good.
An organization like the food bank, when they give back, they're doing more than just providing nutrition and sustenance, they're providing hope.
Food is a basic human right, and it's our responsibility, all of us, to ensure that that right is exercised. We need to prioritize advocacy and policy changes because it's going to have a long-term effect for ending food insecurity.
Advocacy is simply speaking up for your values, speaking up for the change that you'd like to see in our community, and speaking up for government policies that are necessary to make that change happen.
It really takes prioritizing this as an issue so that we can collectively work on it and say, hey, this is something that should not exist, because when we do that, it will go away.
So it's actually no coincidence whatsoever that that video, which is kind of our big food bank commercial, ends with the topic of today, which is, of course, our advocacy and policy change efforts here at the food bank. This is actually an area that we have been doing for more than 2 decades at our food bank. Like to say we are kind of nationwide leaders in this effort. Yet interestingly, it's really a part of our work that has only started to get a lot of attention and interest, or broad scale attention, or really over the last couple of years. Just speaking personally, I came to this food bank more than 13 years ago, and one of the reasons I came here was because of this part of the work. It was really fascinating. It was important for me to see that we were looking at more systemic solutions beyond just the core work. And it's really, in my tenure, not only something that I've seen our efforts really grow in, but it's also really grown in terms of its engagement and impact on the community and the grassroots involvement with that. So we thank you all again for being here. Speaking of engaging, so before we get started here, we just have a quick pop quiz of sorts, sort of just to kind of get a little primer about this work. So we have a quiz here about some of our advocacy wins. So if that quiz can pop up here. So Here's the question. So of the following laws and policy changes, which one did ACCSB not have a role in passing? And we'll give you a minute to fill that out. It's interesting seeing the live results come in. It feels like it's, Tuesday, November 5th at 8 p.m. Just seeing it all come in. Getting a nice mix here. All right, we'll give about 10 more seconds for people to fill out if you want. All right, we'll stop the poll now. And we will get to the results in a bit. So before we get started, or as now we'll kind of jump in now, and you will get the answer shortly, and it will be from our two panelists here. So I do want to do brief introductions here of my two colleagues who will be having this discussion here. First is Aliza Kazmi, our Director of Policy and Partnerships. Aliza hails from the East Bay and is a second-generation Pakistani. She has organized on multiple issues in a number of regions, ranging from Alaska to Michigan and New Mexico, and of course, communities across California. Aliza has created and nurtured partnerships with countless advocacy collaboratives, engaging and mobilizing grassroots BIPOC communities for racial and gender justice, fostering voter and civic engagement, and leading and supporting coalition and movement building amidst critical socio-political challenges. Also with us is Jesward Desena, Community Organizing Manager. Jesward is the Community Organizing Manager and International Human Rights Defender from the Bay Area and the Philippines. As a community organizer for 15 years, Jesward has dedicated their life to building relationships among working class, BIPOC, women of color, LGBTQIA+, and immigrant and refugee communities to strategically dismantle racism, imperialism, colonialism, patriarchy, and other systems of domination. Jesward is excited to organize communities and build power with the Policy and Partnerships team and the inspiring members and partners of the Food Bank. So thank you both for being here. We do have other members of the Food Bank as well as the Policy and Partnership team here with us. And again, I'm Michael Altfest, I'm Director of Community Engagement and Marketing here. So let's jump in. I think, Aliza, I'm gonna turn to you first here. Being in the position that I'm in, I spend a lot of time talking about different parts of our work with the community, and I'm still surprised to this day when people are surprised to learn that we, along with countless other food banks, focus so heavily on policy change. So I think it'd be great just to start here and talk about why, a little bit of top-line context is why this policy change work is so critical to our mission.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you everyone for being here with us. As Mike said, my name is Aliza. I'm the Policy and Partnerships Director. I'm very lucky to be leading an amazing team. And, something that we always want to emphasize is, why does hunger exist, right? Hunger exists because of systemic racism and other abuse of power and control at that systems level. And so that requires a systems level response and engagement and asserting our collective power and creating the change that we want to see together. So that's why we have policy and organizing work as a continuous priority in our organization. And it's really thanks to our leadership's historical investment in this department. Shout out to Allison and Liz and several other people. We actually have 5 people on our team. So we have Jocelyn and Jesward focusing on community organizing, and we have our 2 government affairs focused staff who are Ezer and Jessica, and then myself. And what our work really looks like is we really want to continue to build trust and awareness with different stakeholders in order to push for more government accountability, while also building community leadership, especially among people who are most impacted by systemic racism and poverty.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. And I think our guests will be itching to know after just taking that poll, some of those big wins. So I think it would be great to show, and I think it often surprises people just how much we've been involved in the past. So, the answers are there, and I know this is just sort of a primer, a little bit of an overview, but tell everybody about some of the stuff we've been involved in.
Yeah, so some of the wins that we've had, some are listed here on this slide as far as lifting the ban on CalFresh access for people with a prior drug felony and expanding CalFresh eligibility to older adults and people living with disabilities. Also, we were really grateful to be a part of the coalition effort to secure permanent universal school meals, breakfast and lunch for all K-12 students in our state. We are actually one of the first 2 states in the country to achieve this. So that was really special. And also increasing the minimum CalFresh benefit from $23 to $50 per month and expanding hunger relief benefits. There's so much work. And, the fight continues. So we know that hunger is unfortunately continuing to increase. And so while we're pushing for this incremental policy change, we understand that government-driven policy is not the be-all end-all. And we really need to be doing both policy advocacy and grassroots policy advocacy, as well as really uplifting mutual aid and other community-led solutions that work hand in hand with these solutions.
Cool, thank you. And I'm looking at the slide and I'm looking at the poll. Interestingly here, and it was, I have to admit a little bit, it was somewhat of a trick question. Not surprising, the lifting CalFresh ban for drug felons came up as the most frequent answer here on things that we were not involved in. To be fair, it was a decade ago, but it was a big deal at the time. In fact, I think it was on the front page of the Chronicle when that happened. So that was something we were involved in. The last one here about expanding hunger relief benefits to Californians 55 and up, regardless of immigration status, is a win in progress. So these are all things that our policy and partnerships team has been actively involved in for many years. A number of these, particularly the SSI change, was a win that was many, many years in the making. So kudos to all of you for that work. So the big reason we're here today, obviously, is to talk about the election season, and these wins are kind of a little bit further downstream often because they do start with the government and the people who are shaping these policies. It is an election year, so we're here talking about elections. So Aliza, I'll continue with you and just want to hear a little bit about why elections themselves are so important to food banks and why we focus so heavily during the election season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always want to start with the disclaimer that, we are a 501c3, so we actually have limitations on how much we can do during election cycles. So specifically, we do not support or oppose any political party or candidate. But the point is that voters can. It's every voter's prerogative to vote and, be informed in that process. So even for folks who don't have the right to vote, they can help get out the vote because they're constituents and they're part of the community too. And also the government has a lot of resources, right? In order to help us tackle hunger, we rely on government funding as a food bank, as a network of food banks, not only to be able to purchase and distribute food, but even to help people access CalFresh. So we have to work with the government, and that means that we have the stake in, who is representing us. And even though, again, the organization can't endorse any candidates, we are also doing candidate forums in addition to a voter guide, because we want voters to feel as informed as possible on who and what they're voting on. And the other thing that I just want to quickly note is, food insecurity is a very intersectional issue. Food insecurity does not exist in a vacuum. Folks who are food insecure also have exorbitant rent. They also might face barriers because they're younger or older or living with disabilities. They might be in multi-status households. And, government can either be proactive about preventing and mitigating systemic racism and poverty, or leave people to continue to face an unequal and unjust playing field. And so we really need to work together as a community as much as possible to engage in many different ways including but not limited to voting. And we also hear from the community that they want to be more educated specifically on ballot measures, which is, I know, our focus today.
Cool. Yes, that is our focus today. Thank you so much for that top line here, and I would like to move on to that here. So, as you mentioned, Eliza, we as a nonprofit organization, we cannot discuss candidates during. Well, we don't endorse or oppose candidates in general, but we wouldn't be able to discuss candidates today. But I do happen to know that you and Jessford and your entire team have been working the last few months deeply researching a number of California statewide ballot initiatives, and it's put together this tremendous, I'm on blur, but this tremendous voter guide that is a super handy tool. So can you tell us a little bit about the work that went behind this?
Yeah, can everybody see the voter guide webpage here? Okay, just checking. Thank you. So this voter guide has been a true labor of love. Please check it out. You can go to accfb.org/voter-guide-2024, or just Google 2024 Anti-Hunger Voter Guide ACCFB. And, you know, there's a lot in here. So we really have been encouraging folks to start checking it out well in advance of ballots going out around next Saturday, as early as next Saturday, October 5th. Because we've really broken down kind of even in this first section, you know, what is this and how should you kind of try to navigate it? You know, we noted that we did not make recommendations on every single ballot measure, but we did really assess and analyze which measures are relevant to this fight to combat hunger, poverty, and racism. We also explain a little bit about how we came to the recommendations that we did. And ultimately, if you have any questions, you can always email any of us. And I have, or we have me and Jessford's emails listed right here. And yeah, so as you scroll through, we just encourage you to use what's helpful and skip the rest. You know, we really encourage you to look at the why it matters and who it would impact, because that's kind of where we specifically tried to explain how we're connecting things like climate resiliency and local government bonds to hunger specifically. Like, why are we as a food bank weighing in on these issues? And in addition, we will continue to disseminate our summary trifolds that we have that are actually also in Spanish and Chinese. And we should be posting those to this webpage soon. So everyone should hopefully be able to access the voter guide in those 3 languages. And, you know, at the end of the day, we just really encourage everyone who has the right to vote. Even if it's just parts of your ballot and not your entire ballot, your vote will be counted. And we really hope that the recommendations that we have made on recommending yes on Props 4, 5, 6, 32, and 33, we really hope that those will be useful to folks.
Cool. Well, thank you. And I think this is a great opportunity here to bring Jessford in because we're actually going to spend a bulk of the rest of the time here to go through these and talk about the initiatives themselves. You know, and I admit I'm the type of person who, you know, I'm busy and everything. So when it gets to election season, it's overwhelming. So I will often turn to a newspaper or something like that to look at their recommendations and everything. So we have 5 ballot initiatives that your team has deeply researched and made endorsements on. So let's dive in. I do want to, so we have a guest, Diane, who had specifically asked about which propositions actually address hunger, and it was a really, really good question. And I think I'm not even gonna go down there. Jessford, maybe I'll hand it to you, but I think we'll go through the propositions and I'll let you kind of go for it. So I was gonna ask where you want to start, but it looks like maybe propositions 5 and 33 might be where you want to start with this.
Thanks so much, Mike and Eliza. And so good evening, everyone. My name is Jessford Dosena. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Community Organizing Manager at the Alameda County Community Food Bank. Thank you for joining us today to discuss these crucial measures on the ballot. California Proposition 5 and Proposition 33, these are both propositions aimed at addressing the ongoing housing crisis and its impact on our community. Proposition 5 aims to make it easier for local governments to pass bonds for affordable housing, public infrastructure by lowering the voter approval threshold from 66.67% to 55%. And this would ultimately require a majority, but not as high as 66%. Why does this matter? In Alameda County, affordable housing is defined as housing that a household can afford if their income is less than 150% of the county's median income, which is about 183,000 a year. Given that our median household income in Alameda County is around 122,000, many families struggle to find housing that fits their budget. Additionally, public infrastructure encompasses vital services such as schools, fire protection, parks, public transit, emergency medical services, or housing. These are elements that are essential for creating a thriving community, yet many proposed bonds aimed at funding these projects fail due to the high approval threshold of 66%. It also matters because currently many low-income community members face challenges in securing affordable housing, which directly impacts their ability to afford healthy food. In fact, we know that when families are financially strained, food insecurity is often what gets cut first. So by passing Proposition 5, cities and counties would have the ability to introduce bonds requiring just 55% approval to fund affordable housing and infrastructure. This change could significantly improve access to housing and essential services for many residents. It's important to note that while property owners may face higher taxes to repay these bonds, the overall benefits for our community could be substantial. Additionally, all approved bonds would be audited annually, ensuring transparency and accountability with audit results made available to the public. Now, kind of transitioning into Proposition 33, this measure seeks to repeal restrictions on local rent control by giving city and county governments the authority to enact rent control on any category of housing. This would be a major change from the current situation where the state law limits local government's ability to implement effective rent control measures. This matters because this proposition is vital because about 30% of all Bay Area tenants are paying more than 50% of their income on rent. This significantly impacts their ability to afford enough healthy food. In a recent survey conducted by the Alameda County Community Food Bank, many of our partner agencies identified housing and homelessness as the most pressing issues in our community. The feedback we received indicates that high rents are a major cause for food insecurity. Currently, the Costa-Hawkins law allows landlords to raise rent on properties not protected by rent control. It limits local jurisdictions' abilities to counteract these measures. This has made it increasingly difficult for tenants to find affordable housing and has led to displacement and homelessness for many. So Proposition 33 impacts primarily tenants, especially those at risk of being displaced by soaring rents. By allowing local governments to enact rent controls, we can better address the unique housing challenges faced by our communities. So if Proposition 33 passes, each city would have the discretion to establish their own rent control laws tailored to their specific needs. This flexibility would empower local governments to protect vulnerable tenants and create more stable housing conditions. So all in all, the Alameda County Community Food Bank, our position is that we wholeheartedly support both Proposition 5 and 33. These measures are critical for improving access to affordable housing and ensuring that our community can thrive. By voting for these propositions, we can help people potentially save thousands of dollars on rent each year, which can be used to purchase food and create a more equitable environment for all residents. I'll turn it back to you, Mike.
Great, thanks, Jester. And you just kind of hit that point right there at the end, like Diane's question is, just how intersectional so much of this is and how something like housing or these other ones do actually impact hunger. So thank you for that. I was looking at the voter guide here, and I was thinking, like, one thing that I've always appreciated about the way that your team has been broadening its policy work, particularly over the last couple of years, is how you've gone about unpacking that broader definition of food justice. And looking at those interconnected issues. So I had mentioned earlier on that our previous town hall was actually about sustainability efforts. And so there's some of us that may have a primer on this, but I still think a lot of people are going to be surprised to see that we as a hunger relief organization took a position on Proposition 4. So I would love if you could walk us through that one.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike, and thanks for the question. So Proposition 4 is a measure that, if passed, would establish a $10 billion climate resiliency bond. This funding is crucial for ensuring safe drinking water, enhancing resilience to droughts, floods and fires and extreme heat, and supporting climate-smart agricultural practices and clean air initiatives. Why it matters. The health of our farmlands and natural environment is directly tied to how we produce food for California. With increasing impacts of climate change, our agricultural workers and communities, many of which are Black, Indigenous, and people of color, face growing challenges. This measure would help us respond to these threats through effective disaster relief and sustainable practices, ultimately reducing food insecurity and promoting environmental sustainability. Proposition 4 would particularly benefit those who are most affected by climate change, our agricultural workers and communities, many of which are BIPOC, in which they live and work. These individuals are on the front lines of our food production and are essential to keeping our state nourished. By investing in climate resiliency, we can better support their livelihoods and improve the quality of life for countless Californians. Now let's dive into how this bond will work. The state plans to allocate approximately $400 million each year from the general fund over the next 40 years. This funding is crucial as the general fund also supports essential public services like education and healthcare. A significant aspect of Proposition 4 is its commitment to environmental justice. Thanks to advocacy efforts, at least 50% of the funding will go to projects benefiting disadvantaged and severely disadvantaged communities. This ensures that those who have been most impacted by climate change will receive the support they need. This bond will also provide critical resources for food banks and community infrastructure, focusing on fire and flood mitigation and management. Low-income agricultural workers will gain access to resources for clean technology and energy efficiency upgrades, helping them adapt and thrive in the changing climate. So moreover, additional funding will be directed towards supporting farmers markets, urban farms, and initiatives focused on tribal food sovereignty as well. And by promoting local food systems, we can enhance food security and support our communities. Our position is that we firmly believe that Proposition 4 is a crucial step toward a more sustainable future in California. This measure empowers us to take proactive steps against climate change, safeguarding our environment and ensuring that all communities, especially those most impacted, are supported. By voting yes on Proposition 4, we're choosing to invest in resilience, equity, and the well-being of our agricultural workers and their families. And together that we can create a stronger and healthier California for generations to come. And I'll pass it back to you again, Mike.
Great, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate the deep dive into this because I think, it never ceases to amaze me just how deep a lot of these bills really go. So just to see even things like you wouldn't necessarily assume that the resources would go to food bank and fire mitigation, those sorts of things. And then also to see that this is something that would be over 40 years, just to show how long-term the impact is, like how much impact we can have today, decades out. So that's just fascinating. We're scooting along here. I know you've just deep dove into three of these. There's two other ones. There's Prop 32 and Prop 6, and I think if you can give kind of a quick top line on that, and then we'll see about kind of next steps on this.
Absolutely, Mike. So these ones are a little bit more straightforward. And so we at the Alameda County Community Food Bank are supporting California Proposition 32 as well, which aims to raise the state minimum wage to $18 per hour, up from the current 16. And Proposition 6, we're advocating for this because it would eliminate forced labor as a punishment for crime in state prisons and county jails.
All right, great, thank you. Super appreciate all this important information. So like just to summarize here, we've got 33, well, let's do it in order. Oh, perfect, thank you. That was, you just did the hard part, made it easy. So would you like to recap that or?
Yeah, definitely. So fighting hunger also means fighting, like Eliza had mentioned, poverty and racism. And so again, we're recommending for people to vote yes on California's Proposition 4 to create a climate resiliency bond, Proposition 5 to help pass local bonds more easily, Proposition 6 to remove forced labor as a punishment for crime, and Proposition 32 to raise the state minimum wage, and then finally recommending voting yes on Proposition 33 to repeal limits on local rent control. This is all information that can be found on the voter guide website that Eliza went through so well. And yeah, if you have any questions, we really recommend checking it out. It's really accessible. There was a lot of, it was definitely a labor of love. So we look forward to folks engaging with it. And it can be used for as a helpful tool.
Cool, thank you. And it looks like the link got dropped into the chat for anybody. You can find it on our website pretty easily. Even if you just go to the main website and go into our advocacy page, all of the voter information should be there. That actually leads me, we did have another question. So the one question we got was from Deb, who wanted to know about ways beyond donating that she can get involved in this work. And we know a lot goes into the election season. I see all of the work, particularly to get out the vote. So at a top line, I was wondering kind of if you have like a checklist, so to speak, of how to, how to go for it with an election season.
Yeah, thank you. So I actually have another link, which I believe Yarrow or someone is about to chat into the chat, which is a Google form because we love hearing from you all and we really want to continue to get folks' input. There were several people, both staff and partners, who really helped us build this voter guide. We were getting your input even when we were drafting it, and that was so invaluable. And a way that folks can continue to participate and share their input as well as show us what you're interested in participating in out of all the different events that we have going on is by going to this bit.ly /food bank GOTV. And yeah, so once you fill that out, we will follow up with you. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for folks to stay engaged. Another thing that you'll see here towards the bottom of the slide is we actually have an event day after tomorrow. We actually have several events this week, but the immediate next one is something that Jessica and our team have been working really hard on, which is a candidate forum. So for people who don't know, thanks for putting the Eventbrite registration into the chat, Yarrow. The candidate forums are an opportunity for us to have a face-to-face with different people running for office and ask them, if you are elected, what do you plan to do to work with us and help us end hunger? So we actually had an amazing forum earlier this month that Ezer led, which was for Senate District 7, and we will be sure to have that reflected on the voter guide webpage because we recorded it. So if you weren't there, you can watch it. But definitely for this Saturday, if you're able to join us either on Zoom or in person at St. Augustine's Episcopal Church, which is at 29th and Telegraph, we would love to see you. We would really love to see you. It's a really valuable opportunity to get to know a couple of the people running for this one. It's actually local office. So folks might know we have an Alameda County Board of Supervisors. So we don't just have people representing us at the city level or, in the state legislature, in Congress and DC. We actually have people elected to represent us at the county. And we work really closely with the county because, again, That's one of the arms of government that literally makes some of our work possible, including our CalFresh outreach and some of our food purchasing. So please try to join us and really spread the word. Spread the word as much as possible about our different events that are coming up, that we'll be posting, that we'll be emailing out, you know, and definitely the voter guide, because again, ballots are dropping as early as actually Saturday, October 5th. And so that's, you know, a little over a week away. And in the meantime, other things that you can do are to make sure that your voter registration reflects your current mailing address, because we all receive our ballots in the mail as of like 2020. California made that a thing. So everyone who is a registered voter who's eligible to vote is going to be getting their ballot in the mail at the address that is on your registration. So just double check. If you moved recently, you need to make sure that your address is updated. Also, if you got married or had any like name change, like there's different things in your voter registration that you just want to make sure are completely up to date. And you can do that online at the Secretary of State's website. And yeah, just stay in touch with us. You know, we love to get requests. So a couple of the things that we have coming up next week are different things that partners have asked us to be at, and we love that. You know, we don't have to initiate everything. This is definitely a community effort. So let us know if there's anything coming up that you would like us to try to be a part of and support.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm just looking here to see if we had any questions come in. We did actually have a writing question from Louise, and I may have addressed it already, but Louise, this is not necessarily related to the election here, but Louise had asked about food waste and, you know, how that food can be accessible. So Louise, or anybody who's interested, if you do go and check out that our town hall from April, that was a big part of it. You can learn a lot about our sustainability efforts. I will say, to sort of to brag a little bit about our food recovery team here, who's just an amazing group. Last year, that team helped our agency network recover more than 10 million pounds of food from grocery stores, perfectly healthy food that would have otherwise gone to waste, and that instead went to our community. So I really encourage you to be on the lookout for that. It looks like those are actually all of our questions, so we can wrap up, and it's, you know, basically 45 minutes right there, so that's spot on. Just a couple little pieces here. So just remember, Election Day is November 7th. Aliza has mentioned a few times here, the mail-in ballots will be mailed as early as the 5th, which is amazingly next Saturday. I can't believe it's almost October. Please do sign up for our advocacy alerts. A lot of this information we do push out, and beyond the information for today, all of those wins that we talked about early on, those were heavily involved with grassroots advocates, so volunteers who come to Sacramento with us and make calls to their legislators. And then just kind of, you know, two last things here. We are hitting the holiday season, so we do obviously encourage people to volunteer in our warehouse, out at distributions. We also very much view our grassroots advocates as volunteers. And we are, being a nonprofit organization, fueled by community efforts. So if you are able to donate, those donations do go to our food distribution, as well as funding these very important advocacy efforts. So Aliza, Jessward, any last words?
Yeah, so just wanted to also clarify, Election Day is actually Tuesday, November 5th. So
what did I say?
You accidentally said the 7th, and it's fine because
okay.
we all have a million dates in our head. So yeah, so Tuesday, November 5th is the ultimate deadline, but you are allowed to cast your ballot. You know, you can mail it back, you can physically drop it off at a drop box. Like, you will have different options leading up to November 5th. So that's sometimes a problem where people don't want to wait until Election Day. They purposely are trying to get their ballots back sooner, and we encourage that. We really encourage that. You know, you can even make it like a family and friends activity, and really make sure that your loved ones are also participating as soon as possible, while also making sure that you're informed. But yeah, that is kind of the process. So right now, before we start getting our ballots in the mail, just make sure that your voter registration is up to date. Look for your ballot in the mail starting next Saturday, October 5th. And then October is really game time where we all want to make sure that we're getting our ballots back in as soon as possible, no later than postmarking on November 5th or submitting them on November 5th.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. I apologize. And then thank you for all of you who joined us today. Just a reminder, this was recorded, so it will be sent out here in a couple of days. And if you have any questions, curiosities, interested in engaging in this work, please do not hesitate to reach out to our team here. I can speak to it personally. They're wonderful to work with, and I get energized by their work every day. So thank you. We appreciate you all being here, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.